The mission of the New York City Urban Project within InterVarsity Christian Fellowship is to change the culture of giving and volunteering from one of constant consumption to consistent compassion rooted in the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Albert, how's it going?
What?
How's
How
it
you
going?
doing?
Turn it back on, man.
What?
How are you?
I'm alright. I'm feeling disgusting.
Keep going.
I'm covered in disgustingness.
Talk to the people.
The darkness is a kind of little cubby hole of a room in the basement hallway where it seems that the drain for the entire basement is, and it was filled with nastiness that no person should ever enter without a biohazard suit.
They're like, oh yeah, you should put on some boots and some gloves and stuff. I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, didn't know how dirty it was. Maybe just a little muddy water or whatnot. Just, that's not too bad. I get down there, and they're like, oh yeah, it's in this closet, underneath this crawl space. So I get down there, and it's just rancid. It's ripe and everything, and it's more than mud. I won't go into details, but let's just say I came out that day and I was like, yeah, it couldn't get any worse than that. So it was a unique experience, but I never thought I'd be walking out of a church with these feces all over me.
It was interesting to see that such a big building had been neglected in such a way. Especially as a church, the way to let a church just fall apart that way, regardless of where you are. I just feel that in most countries, churches are sacred and revered, and if there's one building that you're going to take care of, it's the church.
The church that we are working on, as far as clearing out, I was really shocked that first off, there are people still attending the church. Like, they actually have church with their 8 or so members on Sunday, and it has filth and trash and random things thrown into the building, the house of God, what's supposed to be the house of God. So I was really disappointed. How can you allow that to happen? It looks like a garbage pit.
We started the week with cleaning trash out of the window wells. The window wells are about 6 feet wide, 12 feet deep, and 20 feet long. They were almost full to the street level.
Whoa, that's funky shit.
We smelled really bad, but it was great. It was just like a mixture of just like the worst things on the planet that we found stuff in there that we were like, how did this even get? We're not gonna ask questions, and so it was really an experience.
It was a mountain high, and the pit's completely clean now. It's pretty amazing.
Getting down in the pit and getting dirty again, I knew that was going to happen. I knew I was going to get dirty and messy, but I knew that it was helping this church because Robin and Harv really want to help the children out in this community, and this church can be a good place for them, a safe place for them to spend time.
The first night I got here and walked out after dark, and I thought, Lord, what in the world is this kid? And I was an old man, but I felt like a kid doing in a city like this. And kids started coming, people started coming, and it's just like our stoop drew people.
We're just being who God has made us, I guess, just being friends to people, and that's where most of the I guess growth has come. I call him a streetwalker all the time because he would walk up and down this block and pray with people and talk to people, and God has moved through that.
All right, baby. Turn on for me. Open the choke.
I feel like a lot of quote unquote Christians and ministers nowadays are compromising everything, whatever it may be, and getting caught up in the ways of the world and not wanting to lose their life, getting tired of losing their life.
We don't do social justice out of compassion, mercy, guilt, sadness, anger. We do it because we are obedient to God, because we carry out his calling. It's easy to not think about it. It's easy to ignore that homeless person on the subway. It's easy to, ignore a crumbling church that's got scaffolding that, we found trash that dates from 2003 in, but not ignoring it. And not just not ignoring it, but actively seeking it and actively doing something about it.
There's a lot of service that you see the secular world doing, but then a lot of missions agencies don't really, not all, but many don't really have a focus on justice and service. So I love seeing like really Christ-centered service, and I think it's such a blessing. And so I felt like this week to see that there's so many young people who are getting excited about it, it was a real encouragement to me. Like the week before I was praying, like, God, where are your people, and what are they doing? Like I wanted to know, and I feel like he answered that prayer for me, and I think it's good, like to see like God's redemptive work being done.
The kids basically need people to hang out with them. A lot of times they don't have the mentors or the people that they can look up to as they're growing up.
They're just finding their way and challenging the rules, and but for the most part they're good kids. They're looking for people to model for them, to be role models and to mentor them. They're looking for somebody to show them the way, and they're just trying to find their own path.
Anything that I haven't walked through, I can't understand. But I can love them where they're at. And it's his love that pulls anybody out of a pit. And if I have no love to give, I better pack up and go home. Because it's his love flowing through me that reaches anybody.
I discovered before I came to NICUP that Jesus is obsessed with the poor, with the oppressed in society. He's obsessed with social justice. Like, it had never really occurred to me that being a Christian and fighting for social justice go hand in hand. So I had discovered that before NICUP, but in NICUP it's just like been like a clearer confirmation that, like, yes, like Jesus really wants to be involved.
God's just always there, wanting to help somebody. But if there's nobody with a listening ear or a hand to reach out, people aren't going to get help, because God works through individuals.
The experience I had at NICUP was one of, it's not just about acting, but it's acting towards people. And it's not just about loving, but it's loving people.
People are people first. That we're all God's children, even though we all have different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different cultures. We all have problems, and anything could happen between now and tomorrow, and I may end up being the one ultimately in need.
This program is so good. Like, the thing that I really found like so impressed by it is like just like in the leadership, the real love that I see for the people that are being reached, for the city, and really the sense of social justice is really strong, that nobody's better than the other person, and when we see poverty and division, whether it's like race and economic and all these things, that's a result of injustice.
This spring break, it's not, I'm probably not gonna make that huge of a difference, but learning from what's happening and being encouraged by that, and being able to focus my interests and careers in the future to keep this in mind.